Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for all, let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for all, you know. Green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.
Aloha and welcome back to the Ohana Packers Edition podcast, where Joe and I are going to review how much that sucked. The Packers, with first place in the NFC North in their grasps, let go of the ropes, poop on it, and roll in it. And just, I don't want to, they didn't shit away the whole season, but man, did they just make it. Uh, they just haven't done themselves any favors the last closing stretches of these past two games. But Joe, this is why we don't let the Packers determine how we're doing overall in life, because you do that and they shit on your cornflakes ahead of Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and give me about hour, and I'm good after that. I don't let it determine, because outside of being a fan, I'm not overly invested in it. It's not like I'm out there playing, and if I don't win, then you know, then it's going to ruin the rest of my week or whatever. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but I'm not going to let it determine. I'm an asshole anyway. Do you think it's going to hurt me anymore to have them lose?
Yeah, it is one of those where honestly the at this point I feel like same as you, it takes a little bit of time after the game where you like reconcile it mentally, but honestly the roughest part is just like we have to record and talk about this afterward. But and I think the reason that both of us have this attitude, I won't totally speak for both of us, but at least for me, and because Joe and I, we do approach a lot of the game from the same direction. To have the game slip away the way it did because of things we were concerned about this whole season, which Basaccia, it really does
Sean
just
Nixon.
it does just twist the knife so much deeper. So this one is gonna be honestly, it's probably gonna be a heavily moldy weighted episode, just because there are a few low hanging fruits on the that are were good to see, but for the most part it was just a lot of, like I said, things that we had brought up as potential harbingers or potential pitfalls for the Packers, and unfortunately for them, all of them hit. That I don't I try not to liken things to previous games and stuff, but that really is where this is a lot like the 2014 championship game, is that there were subtle moments earlier in the game that cost the Packers, but then at the end, everyone is gonna, you know, to their own merit, they're gonna take it eyes in particular. But really a lot of the damage was done even in the first half of this game. But we'll get into that as we get into our topics. Joe, hit the first button.
Fresh cheese.
So I think the low hanging fruit here is, what's really unfortunate about this game is the Packers got good quarterback play, and the final outcome is not going to reflect that at all. But Jordan was having a solid game. I know that he probably wishes he had that fourth down throw on the first drive back, but he really did put that throw in the only spot it could be to Watson, because anything short of that, you're risking a potential interception, and because of where that throw is going, a potential pick six, like 100 whatever yard pick six kind of thing. I haven't seen the all 22, so I don't know where everyone else was on the field, but that's the danger when you throw that deep out, is it's like, if that corner can undercut it clean, he's off to the races. And it's like your fastest guy is the guy you were throwing to the ball to, and he's kind of falling down and out of bounds. But I thought Jordan was playing a good game until he took we'll get into that hit later on. It was a Bush League hit from Austin Booker. And then the real shame of it is that until he had those back to back bad final plays in overtime, I thought Malik was playing a really good game. The only real nitpicks I had of him was, like I said, those final two plays where I get it, he's like injured at that point, but he's got to cut inside of Edwards on that third down play in overtime because he's got the first, and honestly, he might have been running for a few more yards. And then the fourth down play is just really unfortunate because you just never give your chance on that play. You just muff the snap from the word go. But before that, I think like the only play I had an issue with was the third down on his first scoring drive where I wish he took off up the middle instead of trying to fit the ball into Watson in the middle of the end zone. Because if you look at it right before he goes to throw, Edwards turns to run with Watson, and there's nobody there in the middle of the field. And it's like I think he gets there because there's a lane for him. But even if he doesn't, I think LaFleur is going to roll the dice and go for it on fourth down because it's like, he doesn't because it's fourth and like 6 or something like that. And it's really hard to go for it with your not starting quarterback in a condensed area of the field. But whereas if he ran and he gets it to like 4th and 1 or even 4th and 2, I think LaFleur is going to go for it because he's got a lot of options, whether it's like a QB lead or something like that. But outside of those 3 plays, unlike last year's Chicago game where he came in, you just couldn't ask more of Willis being put into that position where Jordan gets concussed and he has to come in and leads 3 scoring drives, one missed opportunity that's not his fault that we'll talk about later on in the podcast. But like I said, outside of a handful of plays, you can't ask for anything more from your backup quarterback. Even with those 3 plays, it's like he put you up 10 with 5 minutes left, and for all intents and purposes had the game won for you. And so, yeah, quarterback play, like everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my god, what?" But like your quarterback play got you in position to win this game comfortably.
Yeah, I don't think anybody can deny that. If they are, then they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And Jordan, I think Jordan was a little off before he went out, but he was still good enough. But Malik, and this can be a stale that I'm going to throw into your fresh Matt LaFleur's game calling, because it seems like he can call the perfect game for Malik Willis, but then when it comes to his actual starting quarterback, it's like blah. And
Yeah, that is something that I was sitting on for the whole game. But yeah, I totally agree with you that it's wild how like Malik can come in the most unsuspecting section of a game, and it's like LaFleur's like, here it is, and it's the like he just bowls out the whole playbook. And part of that is like the opponent has scouted for Jordan for a whole week and is game plan for this quarterback who's going to play within the passing game and stuff. But like you saw the whirly bird, you saw all the jet sweep motions, you saw all the backfield trickeration. Like literally the only thing they didn't do was run QB lead where Malik was like following a lead blocker like intentionally the whole way. But yeah, I totally agree with you that it's like it's a really good thing because it makes it look really good when you need Malik to play well. But yeah, I do agree with you that we'll probably bring it up again a little bit. But yeah, it is a little bit of a head scratcher where you're like, I get that Jordan isn't the kind of runner as Malik, but his passing, the differential in his passing ability should offset the other side of that equation that you can still be as effective. And yeah, Jordan's not the same athlete, but he's still athletic for his like type, his body type and size kind of thing. And yeah, I do agree with you. It is one of those like it's great because it's overall working out for us, but at the same time, it's like, damn it, Matt, like why are you sometimes? But yeah, it
and
just
I think
is
that's
like
what everybody was thinking, was because it's amazing that he can put this game on the fly, can put this game plan together to get Malik out there to survive, but having a week to prepare can make Jordan look like he's nothing, and he's struggling and stuff like that. It boggles my mind. So while it is going to stay afresh because Malik is doing, came in on a bad situation and really shined, it can also it can go stale for two reasons. One, as stated, because of Matt LaFleur somehow not being able to game plan for his number one quarterback, but can for his number two. And number two, it can be stale because that just makes Malik a lot more money, and we know he's probably not going to stay the Packers backup after this year, which sucks. I'm happy for him that he's going to get a chance, but it sucks because now we got to go back into well, what are we going to do? Do we bring in Anthony Richardson and see if we can do the same friggin' magic with him? Because he's not going to be in Indy very much longer, or what do you do on that situation? So yeah, Malik has done wonderful. He's such a great guy. He's very humble. He's very respectable, and it's one of those, you always see those questions on like Reddit or whatever. What celebrity would you have a hard time believing ever did something bad? And Malik would be that, because he is such a humble, nice guy that if somebody would come, well, he kicks puppies and slaps children, you wouldn't believe it, because it's like, when?
I
So
agree. And
um
Malik does deserve extra props for like really sucking it up and trying to play in that overtime session. And like I said, it's an absolute shame that it ended the way it did, because he was injured too. Like he's clearly injured
now,
getting into
can you
overtime.
explain something to me?
Yeah.
I don't understand this whole emergency quarterback thing,
Okay.
because they kept saying, oh, well, there's not another one on the roster. Well, technically, they do have Clayton Tune as their practice squad guy. Now, do they have to announce him as?
I'm not certain on that part of the rule, but the either way, okay, let's just say, yeah, I can't remember if you have to declare him before the game or not. But let's say that he was the emergency quarterback. Once Toon steps on the field, neither of your other two quarterbacks can play. And so, for instance, you flash back to 2010 when we played the Bears in the NFC Championship game. That's why everyone was like, oh, they did put Haney in, because once Haney went in, Collins and Jake, Cutler couldn't go back in the game. And at the moment, after the fact, we all know like Cutler had like a sprained MCL or meniscus or whatever the hell it was. So like he wasn't going back in the game. But it was the whole like, well, he's been riding the bike for like a whole quarter. Like, is he coming back kind of thing? And then they're like, well, I guess he's not. And Todd Collins was so bad that it's like, are you really losing anything by putting Haney in there? But then it gets down to I forget if the rule is that you can play one of your other two quarterbacks if the emergency quarterback also gets injured, or if it's just like then you got to go to like position players pitching kind of thing and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm not. I'd have to go and look up the emergency quarterback, like if he has to be declared or if it is one of those just he's designated like on your roster kind of thing, like not automatically, but like he is just designated as that, and that's like your get out of jail free card in a sense. But like yeah, like you could tell that one throw he makes to Reed in overtime, you're like that thing you can count to like 14 Mississippi as it flutters through the air to Jaden Reed, and it's like, and honestly, when they made that play, I thought, okay, maybe they are gonna do it, because I was like, in a normal circumstance, after all the crap that went on to end the regulation, I was like, that pass gets batted down or intercepted, and that's how we lose the game. But when he actually completed it, I was like, oh, maybe they're undoing all the bad luck and they're gonna pull it. Nope.
Yeah,
Other,
it had me confused, because I understand you got the two guys on roster, you have one on practice squad, but
yeah,
what's his face kept saying, well, they don't have any other quarterback on the roster. Well, yeah, technically, 'cause Clayton Tune is still there as their practice squad guy. So I wasn't sure how that all worked out. But anyway, Malik did wonderfully. He again, it, to only the only stale parts about it is he's probably not going to be in Green Bay next year because he's going to get his bag of money and get a chance at a starting position. Unfortunately, I feel bad for him because it's going to probably be on a team that isn't going, they're more than a quarterback away from being contenders. So unless he decides that he loves it so much in Green Bay that, you know, it it and they offer him a decent amount just to stay in backup Jordan, but
I
good on
don't.
him.
Yeah, I think what it's going to come down to is it's the money and opportunity are going to go hand in hand for him. Where it's like, is he going to get a fair shake to start, like, compete for a starting spot and potentially start somewhere, or is he like gonna be Carson Wentz for the Vikings this year, where it's like you're here to hold the playbook kind of thing? That's the scenario where if it's only the latter kind of opportunities, he might come back because Green Bay is not going to be able to offer him much of anything just because of where their salary cap. They're about a year out kind of thing, but they can't offer him more than milk and cookies at this point, and they might be down to milk or the cookies kind of thing. But it is potentially a matter of, yeah, if it's just what the other teams are going to do out there. But like you said, like he really has rehabbed his image in terms of like going from he's so bad that Tennessee is shipping for a seventh round to, oh my god, like 10 teams could have use him as a starting quarterback kind of thing, and be successful on offense. So it's it's a really good turn. Great work by Malik. Honestly, just like being in a system that's good for him and putting in the work to improve. And then obviously on Matt LaFleur, because like that just adds another feather in his cap. Like I can fix, I can help you kind of thing, and it helps you, like you said, who the next Willis kind of thing and stuff. It'll be really interesting to see how that situation plays out.
But I guess to kind of move further, the other low hanging fruit that I can throw out there is Emmanuel Wilson has continued to really impress as a runner for this team. He Don't get me wrong, I love Josh Jacobs, but you can tell he's ailing. There were times where he couldn't cut, and that kind of hurt some of his productivity. But Emmanuel Wilson had no issues with that. He was hitting the hole hard. He was finding the gaps. He was cutting when he needed to. Uh, what was it? I think he ended with 83 rushing yards total. So yeah, he did an amazing job. It's kind of similar to the Malik thing, if somebody comes, because I think he's free agent after this year. I don't think he's on any kind of restrictive tag because I think that was this past year was the ERFA tag for him. And if that's the case, I think he's done. Maybe he can be a restricted free agent, but I'm pretty sure he was already on the ERFA tag. So
Hold on.
if some team comes in and says, "Hey, we want you to be our number one guy. Here's a bag of money," that's going to hurt too because he's been such a great rotational guy that you know. And again, nothing against Jacobs because when Jacobs is healthy, outside of one thing we'll probably talk about later, he's been a tremendous pickup for this Packers team and to have Wilson in there as the guy who can give Jacobs a breather or step in when Jacobs needs a break or when Jacobs is hurt has been tremendous. So got to give it to Emmanuel Wilson and what he's been able to do.
Yeah, really the only black mark on his game last night, that swing pass, like row thing that he let hit him in the face mask. But otherwise, and and it is a bummer because not that he would have walked in for a touchdown, but he probably gets the first down there, and maybe they're in position to get a touchdown on that first drive. But yeah, outside of that, the burst, you could tell that he was over whatever was ailing him in Denver last week. His vision was much better. He looked more explosive again. And yeah, he really was what they needed in the run game with, like you said, Jacobs obviously ailing, and having the issue that we've been harping on all season. Another brief one that I have, and honestly, this is probably the last one, is Musgrave. Musgrave had another solid contribution to the game. I kind of wish they kept going back to him. I feel like they get in this bad habit of like, okay, we've thrown him like three passes and that's all kind of thing. And like, but and at the same time, it's great on that because it's like, what's it called? Love's not in there, and it's like, and I know Willis hit him on the one corner route, but it's kind of like, damn, like I do bet they had a bunch more drawn up for Musgrave because I mean, the first Bears game you saw it where they went deep, deep, or deep cross, deep seam kind of thing, and and I felt like there was a little more in the bag for this one, but either way, I'm just glad that he made the most of his opportunity in this game and was a big contributor for the Packers.
Yeah, I was really surprised at how well Musgrave was playing. He even managed to stay on his feet after a couple of catches, so that was good to see. And because like I've described him, and I wish there was a way to fix it, but he's got the legs of a ballerina, but he doesn't have the gracefulness of a ballerina, and it just it, and it's been rough on him because he was highly touted when he came in as a second rounder, and then he was quickly eclipsed by Tucker Craft after Musgrave suffered some injuries and he just could never rebound after that. Now he's getting some shots. It's good to see him kind of step in and finally get going a little bit. I wish he would work on his hands a little bit more because the way he catches it can lead to either drops or balls getting batted or whatever.
Yeah,
So he does need to fix his mechanics on the catch. And you know, I do feel sorry for him because he eventually ended up being the only tight end for a good portion of the game because of I think they said Fitzpatrick went out with an
I think he
Achilles,
tore his Achilles. Yeah,
and then Wiley
Wiley's
was a
still
no go.
concussed. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's going to be. I'm wondering what they do going forward. Hopefully, this McCassell or this Dabney has been in the system long enough that they can step in, or is there anybody out there that they can pick up and say, hey,
I'm not even
can you come
joking
in?
that much anymore. 89 is available on the roster. Just go call Mercedes and just have him come in and block. Kind of like you need a blocker. Like that's the thing is like if he gets healthy, you have him and Musgrave who can go and run some routes and stuff, and Wiley can kind of do your sort of move tight end stuff. But it's like they need a blocker. Like just go and bring Mercedes back at this point, and just at least he can block for you, kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really pleased for I'm like you said, I'm happy for Luke. Like it sucks when you become the like boy of the fan base and stuff, and it's good to just see him taking advantage of his opportunity here the past few weeks. Um, to come off a little weird, but I do have one more. It's really unfortunate. Same thing. It's unfortunate how his. But I thought Jordan Morgan actually played a solid game most of the game. Like there's still some stuff about him in the run game and all that kind of stuff, but everyone's only going to talk about the last play of regulation, and it is a bad play on his part. But for most of the night, you did not hear him talked about. And for a guy who is starting at a position that he's never really played before, I can't ask for much more of that. And, like, was it perfect? No. But it wasn't the reason they lost. And, like, I thought for the most part he was solid. And yeah, you get dings because you got Malik hurt at the end. But yeah, I thought for the first 59 minutes and 43 seconds of regulation, I thought he was okay. And like,
Uh, he may have settled into it, but he was pretty rough that first drive or two.
yeah, which I'm on a curve a little bit there because you know he's not a right tackle. He's out of position. He doesn't have the strength for it. It's not his nothing of that position fits what his body type straight his play style is. and he just battled, and that's why, like I said, that last play of regulation, it's a terrible play, honestly. Like, you can't get caught with your hands, forget in the cookie jar. They're basically, holding his hands at that point for all intents and purposes. But that one play really just does put a black mark on his whole night. And there's another guy on going into that bid. That's how you lose these kind of games, is you have these just dumb let go of the rope for two, just a play here and there. And when you're not either executing well enough early in the game, or you're missing key players on either side of the ball, that's how you get burnt in these situations. So that's how a 10-point lead evaporates in 5 minutes.
Well, I do have one more that I think he's really turned in. He's starting to really come out of his shell and has really started producing, and that's Javon Bullard. I thought he played a hell of a game. He's really stepped in, even so much so that I'm surprised that, well, not his play has surprised me, but I'm surprised they only played two safeties the whole game, him
Yes.
and Xavier. And that just goes to show how much he's really stepped in and has been a tremendous player. Last year, he struggled a little bit. Where does he go? Is he a slot? Is he a deep? Is he what? And I think this game showed he can play all over the place. And that's good when you've got Evan Williams, who's probably going to be more of your
Deep
what do you
safety
call
with
it?
X. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And where you can, okay, well, we're going to send Evan on a blitz up the middle. Okay, well, that's fine because we got Javon and Xavier in the deep end.
Yep.
Or we want to keep Evan deep. Okay, well, that's fine because we can keep Javon up front. So it's looking better and better every game with him. And now, the only other downside of that is I wish they would have played maybe a Catan or a Zane once in a while, because as we're probably going to get into a little bit later, they definitely needed some secondary help. But overall, I got to say Javon really played a really good game.
No, I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah, I totally forgot. Yeah, like you said, he's a guy where, as a rookie, he definite not the but he was the example of why the Packers try to, like, put guys in a role and have them play just a specific role. But you saw Bullard struggle, where he's just he's being asked to do too many things, like you said, where it's kind of like, okay, like, we need you to play slot, we need you to play the we don't know which one is your role because Evan Williams is injured and Kitan's not injured too. We don't want to play one of the veterans we have on roster at safety other than Xavier. So it's like, you're gonna just take your lickings, and you're gonna be roadkill a little bit at certain points of the season, and you're just gonna have to kind of live with it. And good on Bullard to bounce back the way he does this season and just have the really, honestly, a really good top down season for himself. And just really excited what this means for him and the Packers defense moving forward, because yeah, I know that the Bears aren't necessarily that kind of passing attack where he'll test it in the back half, but I don't think he really had any blown assignments. He still was good in run support and tackling. And yeah, like, it's just a shame that the efforts get wasted away because you as a team just can't execute in the key moments down the stretch. But otherwise, I'm good. You have anything else at this point?
Um, I'm trying to run through all the guys in my head at the moment. You know, just kind of, if you want to put it this way, the expiration date for this cheese is kind of, low, getting close. But you could throw probably Quay in there, because I thought Quay played a decent game overall. I got to give it to Jordan Riley, because he was literally playing his ass out of his pants. But he's been looking pretty solid as just a guy picked up off a practice squad. uh Brenton Cox, Lucas Van Ness, I thought played very well. I even have to give it a little bit to Rashawn. I thought he, outside of a handful of snaps, really put on a game. The front seven, without Micah looked pretty decent and getting pressures. They just couldn't convert the pressures uh to
to full on stacks.
production.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
but
you still got like the intentional grounding. You had some throwaways and stuff like that. And you have to remember, even with Micah, you had one sack from Ibn Inagbare in the first game. And yeah, we don't have to stretch this segment out too much longer.
no,
We'll get
I'm trying to run through all the stuff in my head to make sure I'm not missing any major contributors, but okay, I'm going to throw this out there because just because of the weather conditions, I have to give it to both kickers. Both
oh yeah,
Santos and McManus, even though we've been off the McManus train since the day he was signed, but just with the way that I've never, well, I can't say I've never, I probably have, I just can't put it in my head.
the
But the
last
way
one the last one was
those
that 2007 game in Chicago, the one where Favre couldn't throw the ball downfield.
right, but I mean, what I was gonna say is just to see those the crossbars sway like that, it just
Yeah,
or the uprights sway like that. It's like my God, and then just some of the curve that these kickers had to put on the ball just to get it to go through the uprights. I got to give it. And I know we shouldn't be celebrating the Bears because it is the Bears and whatever, but I got to give it to both kickers just because that it was amazing.
Santos really was playing the wind really well on his because his kicks were longer. Like I don't think McManus had one over 40 yards. Yeah, and that last one, it was like I get why he hit it low and hard like he did, but he almost pulled it left because he was so like I just have to get it through. But Santos, he had where it looked like he pushed it, but it was the whole like the wind's blowing so hard, I'm gonna push it so it hooks in for
Yeah,
me kind of thing and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. Like some heady play with the kicking game there. Um,
but I think
otherwise,
that's about all I got on it.
yeah, yep. I'm ready to move to the next one.
What's this stale shit?
The only one I really got here is Xavier. Like it would have been a tough play, but that one where he undercuts Colston Loveland and like it ends up being a pass broken up. He's picking that off last year, and it just shows like how like fortune sort of changed year to year kind of thing where like McKinney was just in such a zone last season where it's like he probably would have speared that with one hand if it was 2024. And then this year, it's like he's getting both hands on it. And like I said, he's like getting there the same time Loveland is like crossing and kind of gets a hand on the ball as well. But it just like he's picking that last year. And there's no doubt in my mind. Whereas this year, it's like, oh, it's a nice PBU, but then you don't stop the drive and the Bears kick a field goal and all that kind of stuff. And it is just
He
one of
should
those.
have had it. It hit
Yeah,
him right in the hands. He was right there. There was nothing the guy could have done to stop it from happening. But for
yeah,
whatever reason, the Xavier's hands are just not working this year.
yeah.
And yeah, that definitely right now it's a stale, but it's slowly starting to get into that moldy
Just
because
because as a unit, they have dropped about a dozen to like 18 interceptions this season. Where, like I said, they're not all like gifts, but you just have to make those plays, especially if you're going to play the style of defense Halfley wants to, and you're missing Micah. You just can't miss those opportunities. And yeah, we're at this point in the season, and it hasn't changed. So yeah,
uh stale. Maybe the receivers, just because it seemed like they I don't know, they just seemed to struggle getting open, and you could tell it was getting kind of hard for these guys, both Jordan and Malik, to get. I get the. I'm struggling to come up with form words with this because I get the weather was an issue. Throwing the ball was just basically like trying to kick the ball in that wind, but it just seemed like nobody was getting anywhere. And luckily, Malik was able to take off and get yardage on his feet. But I don't know. Outside of like a handful of catches, the Romeo touchdown and stuff like that, it just, yeah, I don't know. It was an off game. The
Yeah, and it's always hard to tell because you can tell, like I said, that first the fourth down that Jordan is incomplete on. You can tell that Watson kind of loses his footing coming out of his break a little bit. It's hard, the Bears play a lot of man coverage, and how much they have that other teams aren't confident cutting hard on their crappy ass field and all that kind of stuff. But you're right, like it would have been nice to see a little better. But also, it's sort of the passing game was a little more crisp with Jordan in there, which is what you expect when you go from your starting QB to your backup QB. But how much of that after the fact is like Willis is just trying not to do too much. He's trying not to make the big mistake kind of thing. And it's like, how many of those are ones where Jordan just does pull the trigger and Willis is like, we're moving the ball running it, and I just have to make enough plays through the air to keep the Bears honest kind of thing and stuff. So yeah, it's hard to say like how much of it is receivers, whatever, or yeah. So like you said, I do think it deserves to be in Stell, where it's just like you guys had the game plan. It worked so well 2 weeks. Kind of disappointing, backup quarterback or not, that you couldn't go back to the well consistently there.
and I just want to throw this out there. We have no idea what these guys see on the field. I mean,
Oh
we
yeah,
can sit here and watch the all 22 because I know the one big thing that a lot of people in a certain somebody to see is pointing out is on one throw that it went complete to, I think it was Musgraves or somebody like that, but he had Watson running deep, wide open that he could have hit him for. We don't know what he saw and what he didn't see.
Willis never looks left. Like it's very easy to couch quarterback call, but it's pretty clear that the read is all to the right, and he's just high lowing the defender. And even Watson, like Christian, doesn't jump or anything like that. He puts his hand up, but then he sees like, okay, yeah, the play like worked, like I'm assuming it's supposed to and stuff. It's very easy to after the fact say like, oh, there was a touchdown. I don't remember exactly what the pocket looked like. And again, like I said, when you're the backup quarterback, you feel this different kind of pressure where it's like, I just can't do too much and I can't be get how did Malik get in trouble in week 18 last year? We get a interception, I think, off the flea flicker,
I
and then
don't know.
he gets stripped. Oh yeah, that's right. And then I'm pretty sure like 2 plays later, he gets strip sacked because it's like they're trying to take a shot play after the fact, and he gets strip sacked because he holds the ball too long. And it's like, okay, like you can't have your cake and eat it too. And like you said, they did gain 20 yards or something like that on that play. So it's like, it's so easy for the and if Malik throws him that ball and he drops it, like I don't. That's why I don't like to play the what if
Then
game in that regard. So
Right. Then
yeah,
Tazim was trying to make up all kinds of excuses like, oh, well, it was underthrown or it was overthrown or,
yeah,
it didn't hit him. So, yeah, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You just, it went for a good play. The play was drawn up for a certain way. Yeah, it would have been nice that had it been complete, he threw it to Watson and Watson made the catch. We probably would have had a touchdown for it. But yes, hindsight's 2020. Again, we don't know what Malik was seeing. We don't know all that stuff because we're watching it from a completely different point of view.
yeah. So
So,
it is
stale
what
wise,
it
I don't
is.
think I have any others.
No, I'm good.
Button.
It's a Modici.
Uh, how many of them do you want to go through? Uh,
I'll let you take the first one since I've gone first the first two.
I gotta say the Josh Jacobs fumble. I don't know what that one was all about. I don't know how. I mean, obviously, it was a good play by the Bears to be able to punch it out, but he reminds me of so much of Aaron Jones in that aspect where they play so well and this shit doesn't happen. Then all of a sudden, in the worst possible times, it pops up. And I
It's a
don't
thing
think
that
it
you
has
and I have
any.
talked about all season. Yeah,
I don't think it has anything to do with the injury because obviously
No.
his injury's not in his hands or in his arms or anything like that. Unless it was one of those, because I get the back spasms where it's like, once the pain hits, everything just drops out of my hands. And unless it's something like that where he took a hit to the knee and the pain got so bad that he just let loose of the ball or whatever. But I can't say that because I don't know. But I and I don't know a fix for it because it's not like it's a regular occurrence for him.
Yeah. And the one part of it and that's the thing is like this isn't like the Indianapolis fumble or the Browns fumble earlier this season where it's like he's holding the ball a little loose and a little low. Like he had two hands on it. This one, it's to topics that I absolutely hate most. But on one hand, we have said all year long, like Josh has like he's tiptoeing on having fumbleitis issues, and it's been a like quiet problem for the team. And I did say it on Twitter. I said that that fumble was honestly more costly than Dobbs muffing the onside kick, Keyshawn's brain fart. Everyone's going to remember those two plays because of when they happened in the game. But coming away with nothing on that drive, and it's twofold. So one, you get no points on a drive where you're inside the 5 yard line, where he's getting contacted and the fumble force. But two is it was first and goal, I think, so you lose the opportunity to burn what was the amount of time basically on the clock when the Bears recover the onside kick. So like it's a double whammy for the Packers where you don't burn an extra like 1.5 to 2 minutes off the clock, and then also you're not scoring points. And really good on the Packers defense to turn around, and they gave up some yards, but they still force a punt after that. But it is just one of those where it's like you were about to go up potentially as much as 17 in that point. And at that point, the game's not over because it's still the third quarter, but it's like you take so much control, and really the mental side of the game fits in, because then the Bears are like, oh fuck, like are we about to go, the Packers score another touchdown later, and it's like, man, did we just go down 17 points to a backup quarterback that after we headhunted the starting quarterback to start the game? So yeah, it is just a bummer. Like you said, I've seen some people try to be like, "Oh, he's playing injured." I'm like, first off, no, his injury is to his leg. Like you said, there's the off chance that he has a spasm and it causes him to whatever. But no, like that's not why he fumbled. And the other side of it is it's like it just can't
Trust me,
happen at
those
that point.
spasms suck. I was
Oh
working
yeah,
on something a couple months ago where I had to go up over my head, and then all of a sudden my back just spasmed and everything fell out of my
oh
hands.
yeah, yeah.
So it's
Like,
like, yeah, that it's possible, but I,
but I doubt it.
I doubt it.
Yeah,
And like I was saying, it's not like it's an Amon Green thing where we know he's at least going to be good for a fumble every game.
yep.
It's just this really freak occurrence once in a great while that happens, and it always seems to happen at the worst times. And it's the same thing with Aaron, like I said, with Aaron Jones. It always seemed to happen at those worst possible times that the sure-handed guy loses a fumble. And there's nothing you can practice with it. There's nothing you can work on with it. It just once in a great, I don't know, has there ever been a running back that has never fumbled the ball in his career?
No, I feel like the announcer jinx it every time anyway. So yeah, it's just a bummer because, like I said, it really cost the team in two regards. There, the other low hanging fruit from this game is like I said, there were individual issues, but I just don't understand how Matt is still keeping Basacci on his staff. Like, I understand that Dobbs has to make that play, but at the same time, like, I'm not defending like, okay, I'm not defending anything Dobbs does on that play, but the fact that he does not attack the bouncing ball, it's the whole like when you play baseball, everyone says charge a ground ball, right? Because it's like you don't want it to give it a chance to take a bad bounce like it did on it clearly takes that Dobbs gets caught in between because he's like, oh, I'm gonna wait to make sure it goes 10 yards, and it did go 10 yards, but it's bouncing at me, so I'm gonna wait back here. That's coaching. What I want every Packers fan to do is go back throughout Donald Driver's career. I'm sure he flubbed a couple, but that give you respect for how aggressive and how fearless Driver was recovering onside kicks, because he would, especially because back in that era, that was when every team prescribed to you have to pop fly the kick. You kick it into the ground and it pops up. Donald would go and he would, he could have qualified for the Olympics. He was that good of a high jumper, and he would just go and sky aiming for that ball. And guys just don't attack onside kicks like that anymore. And that's why I don't like, and that's why I said, like, it's not defending Dobbs. He still needs to make that play no matter what. But the coaching to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to let it come to you kind of thing. And then the blocking scheme is so bad that there's coming to help cover Dobbs up after. Because how many of those drills did we do where it's like, yeah, you have the front wall blocking, but everyone else is sprinting to where the ball is kicked, because of this scenario where either it pops out so you're there to recover it, or you're just all you do, it's the lineman drill where you all jump on top of the linemen when they have a chance to recover the ball, and you make the mound and stuff to protect the football. No one else in white is in frame, like, and all those things combined, those are all coaching. And once again, and on top of it, like I said, the Packers just continuously bad returns on special teams, penalties on special teams, not knowing an onside kick and stuff. Like, I was honestly joking with Westendorf, like, because he tweeted like, because the Bears kind of screwed up and kicked their last field goal so late that the kick went into the 2-minute warning. He's like, this has to be an onside kick. And I messaged him and I was like, $20 that Bisaccia doesn't even line us up in an onside recovery lineup kind of thing. And so it's just like it is just one of those, like, I don't know what anyone is expecting disappointment from that unit, and that's why it's just so far into the moldy that it's like I said, not excusing Dobbs for not making that play, but just the way they lined up and the way that Dobbs goes to receive and not go get the football, that's all coaching. Like, it's just so bad and it's so lame, and I'm so over it. We've both been over it for so long, but it's just like, what are we
He didn't
doing
seem
here
like he
anymore,
was
Matt?
ready for it no matter what.
Right.
And it's like, that's your responsibility being in that spot. And
And we've seen Dobbs recover an onside kick as recently as like 3 weeks ago, and he did it perfectly. So yeah, it's like, and he did like go a little more aggressively at the ball at that moment. So I have no idea, but it
I
just
know he
further.
was quoted as saying something, but I don't remember. Something about it was knuckling, and it was just such a slow roll. He wasn't sure what to do or something.
And like I said, that goes back to coaching, where it's like, what's the coaching? Oh, go recover. Like, I guarantee you that's all he's told is like, go get it. Like, go recover. Make sure you recover the ball. It's like, and that's my thing is like, you just don't coach the scenarios. Like, you just draw it up on the whiteboard and it's like, we're going to line up over here. You're going to get the ball kind of thing. And like, I'm like, I'm like, it goes back to the Bisaccia reportedly doesn't really advance scout the opposing team or his own personnel kind of thing and stuff. And yeah, like, it's just one of those where I'm kind of like, Matt, like, you gotta cut yourself free of this, or it's going to get. I don't want Matt to get fired because he won't get rid of a guy, but it's like, Matt, you have got to cut the dead weight on this. Get yourself out from under Bisaccia dragging your ass down at this point.
I was trying to find the quote real quick, but I'm not going to find it because all it is everybody just trashing Romeo right now. But I know they said it was like, he said something about it being such a slow roller and knuckling that he wasn't sure how to play it, and yeah, something like that. But yeah, and to people trashing Romeo, you can't be like that. I get so tired of these people because of
and and
fantasy
he
sports.
he's the other one that was having a pretty good game up to, he catches the touchdown, the really nice touchdown throw from Willis. He had a couple good catches from Love early in the game and stuff, and no one's gonna remember any of that guy who, it's all over. He wussed out and didn't go and get the onside. Yes, he can't get so in his head. His attitude has to be, I'm getting this ball. Not, I'm gonna recover. It's that's mine. I'm going to get it, hell or high water, no matter what. And I know it opens himself up to like, oh, he went too aggressively and he missed it, but it's like the best place to try and recover an onside kick is before it gets to 10 yards because the opposing team can't do anything to you at that point. So it's like,
Or could let me ask you this, because we've seen it before with deep kicks, and I remember Randall Cobb was the king of this. What if he would have had 1 foot out of bounds and touched it? Would that have downed it?
yes, it would have. The problem is, I think he's just in no man's land because on the replay, I was like, oh, like when he muffed it, and initially when he muffed it, I was like, was he potentially like half out of bounds when he tried to recover it? But like he's so far off the sideline, like he's like closer to the numbers than he is to the sideline, and I think that's like 8 to 12 yards or something like that, where the bottom of the numbers are from the sideline. And so like again, it's like, what are we coaching? Like what's the point is like, and that's my thing is like, he should be tighter to where the kicker is for this very reason, where it's like you get one of these slow rollers and it's like, he's like, what do I do? Do I wait for it? And you, like you said, you can see it in his brain where he's like, oh, it might not get to 10 yards. And then when it crosses 10 yards, he's like, ugh. And at that point, it's too late for him to get closer to it because he's like, oh, if it takes that last bad bounce and it's getting around me. So then he's stuck where he is. And then by that point, it takes one more last bad hop. And he's like, his hands are like 6 inches away from the ball. And that's why he misses it. And to me, that just purely comes where you line up before the guy kicks it. That's coaching. Like like you said, yes, the ball would be dead, ruled out of bounds if he's like straddling the sideline, but he's not anywhere close enough for that to be a reality.
Okay,
And
well,
then by
I
that
thought he was a little bit closer to the
I
to
thought
the
he was
sideline.
too. I thought he was too. But then when they were showing the replay of like the muff and the recovery, I was like, he needed to be 7 feet tall to touch the sideline with his toe, kind of thing. So yeah,
Because
like
I just was thinking, like, man, that Randall Cobb was the king of that. That was just would have been the perfect way for that to happen, was for his foot to just be
yeah,
out of bounds when he touched it. But so to keep going, I would say, I'll say it, the friggin' secondary outside of Javon Bullard was just putrid. And it's something that we've been going on forever, that
it's just
we
not good
understood.
enough.
Right. And we understood the signing of Hobbs. That was going to be, a piece to it. But then we kept saying, okay, well, everybody wants rid of Jair, which, hindsight 2020, Jair is off doing Jair things. Either he's can't get fully healthy, or his mindset is not right, or whatever. More power to him with what he's doing. But they never did anything outside of that. This room is so lacking right now that even if the Packers do get into the playoffs, are they even going to be able to make a deep run? Because all they got to do is be pass heavy. I mean, yeah, like I said, the front seven was getting decent pressure on Caleb, but that doesn't matter when your secondary can't cover a barn. It just it I don't know what they can do. I think it's too late for them to be bringing anybody in. I know the people are going to say, "Oh, well, look at what Asante Samuel Jr. is doing out in Pittsburgh." I get that. We started coming around and pushing for them to at least give him a practice squad spot, but they must have not liked something in his medicals that they weren't comfortable with, that Pittsburgh was.
Or the other side of it is like Pittsburgh was like, you're gonna get to start. You're definitely gonna get to start when you're cleared, like when you're fully up to conditioning and stuff. And the Packers are like, you're gonna have to play for a spot, kind of thing. And like, there's a big difference for it's like I need time to resuscitate my potential earning capability this offseason, next offseason, kind of thing. And you like we talked about it at the time. Goot probably was like, we want some sort of 2 year thing where it's like we're going to give you a ramp up period. You're going to get to compete for playing time this season, and then we have you for next season. Where like potentially again playing time. Whereas
The only thing I'm going to interrupt you. The only thing I have
go.
to say against what you were talking about with the Pittsburgh signing is they initially signed him to the practice squad. He didn't get called up from the practice squad until there was an injury and they cut loose Darius Slay and they brought Asante Samuel Jr. up to that. So we don't know what the circumstances behind that was, but there should have been no reason the Packers couldn't say, "Hey, yeah, we'll throw you on the practice squad if you
and
want."
Like you said, that's where squad. And like you said, that's where it does probably come down to like they're just like, we don't need another guy with neck and spinal issues. Like we've had enough of that in our time. But
that's the only thing I can think of, because all we heard of rumor wise up until the day that he signed with Pittsburgh on the practice squad was, if he's cleared, the Packers are in. So that just tells me there's something in the medicals that the Packers did not like, and they didn't feel comfortable with it. And more power to him. He did have a good game last week. I don't know how he's doing this week because I'm not watching any kind of football today. So, but anyway, yeah. Back to my point, we all understood the Hobbs signing. Carrington is what Carrington is. He's a good cover guy, but he can't tackle for shit. But there was nobody that they brought in to be that person. And I've said it from the beginning. I've said it since Keyshawn made his statement. Keyshawn Nixon is not a number one cornerback. He may be a solid number 2. He may be a solid number 3, but he is not a premier cornerback in the NFL. Does he have his moments? Sure. I mean, hell, what's he up to? Like 15 pass defenses in so far this season? Sure. Why not? But we all saw the drawback of it. He makes too many mental mistakes. I know everybody's comparing this to the 2014 NFC Championship game because of the onside kick miss, and the only part of the NFC Championship game that this reminded me of was that last pass for a touchdown, because they were in solid coverage, but he took the outside route instead of having the inside route. If he would have been on the inside of DJ Moore, it probably would have been interception. But he went on the outside of it. He played it as well as he could from being on the outside. And you saw what happened. So I'm over that. Like I said, if we manage to make it into the playoffs, unless there's a miracle, I don't see it being a long run.
And that's where, and I said, like, I know you were kind of saying, like, if you believe in the storybook, they could go on a run like they did in 2010 and all that kind of stuff. It is just so hard down this much personnel. You've lost Parsons for the season, Tucker's out for the season, all that kind of stuff. When you're down that much talent, it is so hard to win 4 road games in a row. Like, it's just such a hill to climb. And it's not like we've seen the best at different times, but it's just all clicked in a game. That's the thing, is like that 2010 game, that 2010 team, you had blowouts in the middle of the season. They blew out. There was 2 weeks in a row they got coaches fired. They got Wade Phillips fired, and they got what's his face, the Vikings coach, the Schism man. They got him fired in back-to-back weeks. And they just haven't put that out there at all. This, and that's where 2010, it had a like that. When Parsons got injured, you're like, shit, there went the season, kind of thing. And granted, Clay Matthews was mostly, I know he dealt with hamstring issues, but he came back for the season. Woodson doesn't get injured until the Super Bowl. So you're like, okay, our two best defensive players are out there and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, at least with the 2010 team, you were more disappointed in their losses because you were like, we've seen this team be elite, elite, elite on both sides of the ball, and we've seen them do it in kind of thing. So it made it believable that they could get in the right mind and do it over a run. This team, it's like on paper or in theory, even with Parsons out, you're like, we've seen them put good offense together and we've seen them play good structured defense, but you haven't seen it all in the same game. And even within the same game, it's like the best games are like the offense good one half and the defense played the other half, and they scraped together enough scoring drives and defensive stops to win the game by 4 kind of thing. And it's not like, oh yeah, they like the closest you got was kind of the Pittsburgh game 2.5 months ago at this point. And that's why it's kind of like you're just, it's not as bad as last season where you just like backpedal into the playoffs, but it is sort of that way where it's like, and that's what we were talking about in the preview for this game, was it's like, how are you going to bounce back and show us, that you are like, yes, you've lost Micah. That's a huge blow, but will you show us that you are for real? Regardless, you're going to go out there and like you did it for 55, but that's not good. And that's been the problem with this team all season. Even in some of their wins is like they blink or they let go of the rope for a split second, just this parcels of time. And it either makes the games more pucker up they need to be, or you get the Browns, Panthers, Eagles, this past game instances where there are 4 of your 5 losses where it's like you had it and you blew it because you just took a dump in the middle of the field on yourself.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The other one that I've got out there, it's more of like a thing than anything. I'm so fucking annoyed that because of how individual and team stats are recorded, it's so fucking annoying that the Jordan Love Caleb Williams head-to-head matchup is 2-2, but Jordan didn't even play a full game's worth of game in the 2 losses, and that's just how it works, where he's the quarterback of record because he started the game. And particularly in this one, like you said, he wasn't perfect, but they were moving the ball fucking will on the Bears. And what did it take? It took Austin Booker 2 dirty hit. Like, I know the first one didn't really injure Love. A lot of Bears fans complaining about the first roughing the passer penalty that Love drew. And it's not just fans. There's a lot of fans of other teams who are like, that is quite literally the body weight rule. Like, he had every pull up and like sidestep or turn, but he decided, no, I'm gonna drive Jordan into the turf.
And it's not even just the body weight rule, it's he drove him into the ground.
Yeah, it's like it's from the moment of you could have hit the brakes and just like shoved him, but no, it's like I need to wrap him up and drive him pick him up and drive him into the turf. And like I said, it wasn't just Packers fans. It was a lot of like, because that ML football aggregate account was like, how terrible was this call? And there was a lot of fans that are like, it can be the body weight or the driving the quarterback into the ground rule, but he did both of them. And they're like, you can see him pull Love off the ground and drive him down. He weighs so, and then the play he concusses Jordan on. And I seen a lot of Bears fans who are like, Jordan's ducking. And I'm like, he's ducking because he's trying to give himself up, because you can see it in his face where he like kind of like maneuvers the pocket and he looks at Booker and he's like, shit, like you got me, bro, kind of thing. And all he's doing is he's going to turtle on the that he doesn't fumble it. And then Booker's like, oh no, I got you. And he clearly puts his head down and just drills Jordan into January. Like there's and
That's the only instance, those types of hits are the only instances where I wish the NFL would adapt the targeting rule that NCAA has.
And am I being a homer because my wife's a Chargers fan? Tony Jefferson got one of the ultimate screw jobs last week, where he gets ejected from the game against the Chiefs, where he's coming in to make a form tackle on a guy who caught a ball, and He's 5'11". The guy who caught the ball is like 5'8" because it was Hollywood Brown, I think. And that one was more a matter of he's coming from range and he has to close kind of thing. Like you said, Booker looks Love dead in the face and he's like, I've got him, and clearly lowers the boom on Jordan. And he's like, I am lights out for him. And thank God Jordan I know that like that he's definitely concussed, but thank God he didn't have to get stretchered off the field because that was a dirty play. I did love all the people who are like, Howie Long would know what a dirty hit is because he definitely delivered a bunch of
He was calling
but
it out.
for
He
someone
was
like
sitting there.
Howie, yeah,
He was
Howie
sitting there
was
fucking
he was
saying,
perturbed.
yeah. And then for
Yeah,
Strahan, oh well,
like
that's a typical hit in our day. And Howie's like, no, those are dirty hits. Yeah, we made some hits in our day, but
yeah,
those were dirt. And it wasn't just the loved ones. There was the one where the guy jumped onto the scrum that got called for
yeah,
a penalty. Then there were a couple other ones, and he's like, man, the Bears are coming out dirty. And like I said, Strahan's trying to, and uh, that can be a fresh for this game is how much Howie friggin' Long was sitting there talking about how dirty the Bears were playing this game.
yeah. It like I said, it's just a shame because Jordan played so well against the Bears the first, and like you said, it was probably a B game that it was averaging out to before he got concussed. But a B game was eviscerating Bears defense up and down the field, and it's just so frustrating that he gets taken out. And then I saw some people, the Jaquan Brisker one in the third quarter where he like clearly and stupidly hits Malik Willis when Willis has given himself up on the ground, and people are like, "Oh, like should Brisker be ejected?" I'm like, "No, the NFL has," and I said, right or wrong, the NFL has never prescribed to the Major League Baseball rules of escalation and that ejections can come from, prior incident escalation and stuff. Maybe if your team is being stupid like that, but that's the problem is the NFL, and we say it all the time, they're a reactionary league. They never make that kind of the initial litigation in the middle of the game. They're always we're reviewing it. It's an off-season point of emphasis kind of thing and stuff. If that was Booker instead of Brisker who hit him, he definitely should have been ejected. But it's really hard for the NFL to go, oh, well, because Booker clearly had it in for Jordan and Dirty hit him out of the game and we missed opportunity to eject him when he intentionally, yes, I am going that far, that he intentionally smoked Jordan in the face with his helmet. We missed the opportunity to eject him there. We're going to eject Brisker because he's one of the dumbest people in the NFL. The NFL has never operated on that mechanism, and they're not going to start
However,
doing that in the game.
However, if you go back to my original point of it, if they would start adapting the targeting rule that the NCAA has, he would have been ejected because
Yeah,
that was textbook targeting on that play also. Because
yeah,
once you give yourself up on a slide, you're
it's
done.
over. Yeah.
And I don't know by the
And that's
letter of the law they have now if he should have been ejected, but if they were to adapt a targeting rule, that definitely would be an ejection. Now, I'm going to throw, before you start going off on anything, I want to throw something else in there. I'm also going to throw in a moldy on this because where the hell was the other Packers? If we would have had like a TJ Lang or a Bakhtiari or somebody like that, there would have been a scrum. Now, I'm not advocating for fighting, whatever, but you need to be standing up for your quarterbacks. I didn't see it when Booker took out Love. I didn't see it when Brisker went after Malik. I mean, they did start getting into some pushing and shoving during the game, but those are the times that you need to be standing up for your quarterback.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it.
And this isn't a like, is there a schism? It's just like, yeah, it is sort of the like, they're just missing. The problem is I think that guy, he's on injured reserve. That's Tucker. Like Tucker definitely gets into it there, kind of thing. Even if
But it
he's
should
coming
be
off
your
the
offensive line. It's
right,
always
and
been
I
your
agree with
offensive
you.
line.
Yeah. Well,
Your
and
job as an offensive lineman is to protect your quarterback, whether he's playing or whether he's not playing.
yeah,
And
I
they
think
didn't do it.
I think the first guy there is always going to be the one who's like Jordan, like stay down kind of thing and stuff. But everyone else should be ready to muck it up and throw. And I think Tosher kind of got into that a little bit after the game too. My thing is like the two guys that I would count to be those guys are Tucker and Elton, and they're both on IR kind of thing. But you're absolutely right that you have veterans out there. So I know Banks hasn't been around the block with the team that long, but he's a vet. He's a veteran in this league. And Sean and Rashid are both fourth year players, and it's like
And those are the two that I'm especially looking at because the two guys that should be protecting their quarterback at all times, your blindside protector and the guy that's snapping you the ball.
yep.
And neither one of them did it.
So yep, it is what it
I've got a
is,
couple
and
more if you don't have any more.
go for it. Go for it. I'm sure maybe a couple more will come to mind, but I'm struggling a little bit right now.
Tom friggin' Brady. He needs to be off. Period. I don't care, and I don't understand it. But as a commentator, you are not to show any kind of bias, and he was continuously biased during this game, and I have proof of it. And for those Bears fans, I wish I would have been able to get the audio of it so I could play it here. But there is literal proof if you go back and watch the game, unless they alter it for some reason. If you go back and listen to it, anytime the Bears did something, he was excited. He was, off the rails and he was breaking it down. But when Malik throws that deep pass to Romeo for the touchdown, Tom Brady sounds so depressed. I thought he was going to just shut up for the rest of the game. But then when the Bears started making their comeback and all that stuff, he was back up to it again. That right there shows bias. And as a commentator, you are not to show any kind of bias. That's why I like Greg Olson. That's why I like, I don't even have a problem with Tessitore. I don't have a problem with, Daryl Johnston in a way does show his biases, mainly when
But
the
at
Cowboys
least
are
it's
playing.
for his Cowboys. Like I don't
Right.
blame him. Like he's definitely been caught on a hot mic saying "we," but I can't blame the guy because that's the team he played for. Like I wouldn't.
Well, that's
I
what I
agree
mean.
with you.
I have no
I wouldn't
problems with
be.
that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset. Like I would be irritated, but I wouldn't be mad if Brady was like, "Oh yeah, New England did great," kind of thing, or "Oh Tampa Bay, great." But like you
Or
never
even the
played
Raiders
for
because he is a minority owner.
right, and then on top of it, like you have those instances, and then I just don't think she ever should have been allowed to continue commentating with all the stuff that are there's that list that's made public knowledge of all the things he's not allowed to like rip the league about. And not that he's like, not that any color guy should be like needling the NFL a whole game kind of thing, but the fact that like Burkhart is like, Burkhart deserves a raise because he is working with, everyone jokes about how many like, Brady's a zombie or whatever kind of thing and stuff, but he's literally working with like the equivalent of a lobotomized patient because of, like you said, the things that Brady is and isn't allowed to talk about because of his. And you hear, like you said, the touchdown to Dobbs. Burkhart makes a great call. Burkhart was great the whole game, honestly. I thought he was really good on a play-by-play instance and stuff. But he
That's
is
who I was talking about, not Tessitore. For some reason, I had
Yeah.
Joe Tessitore in my
He
head.
kind of he does have some instances where he kind of does have some tests to him and stuff. Tess's voice is a little lower, but yeah, Burke, he's dragging the sled up the hill, kind of like this. It's always sad when you hear a play-by-play guy throw the figurative softball up for the color commentary guy, and it's just like, forget a whiff. He didn't even swing at it, kind of thing. And Kevin's kind of left. There's like multiple times a game where Burkhart is left going, I mean, Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But oh, next play is coming up, so let's move along. And you can like almost in your mind see him like kind of like looking at Tom like and then he's like, never mind, back to the action kind of thing and stuff. But
Well, that's
yeah,
what I
it
mean. When
is.
the Bears were doing their jobs, and this isn't taking away from the Bears. The Bears ended up being the better team.
Yep.
It is what it is. But every time that they would do something, Brady was all over it. Oh yeah, that was great design. This. But then whenever the Packers would do something, it was, yeah, okay,
Like, and I agree. And what's really annoying is like when the backup quarterback is in and having success, the color commentator, on average, the color commentator is at least pushing, overplaying, and like breaking they shouldn't be able to have this much success when their starting quarterback is out kind of thing. And it's just like, really, we're not going to get anything like.
yeah,
Like the most excited he got was when he was doing the Christian Watson was open on the backside, but I guess he just took the safe points with Musgrave kind of thing. And I'm like that's the play you're gonna like seriously. But yeah, no surprise. Like he's what's really funny is a lot of Patriots fans are like, Brady, like Bill Simmons is like, I'm trying to wait it out, but Tom, just go own the Raiders. Like Simmons has multiple times where he's just like, Tom, I love you. I love the 6 rings you got for us, but just go sit in the owner's box at the Raiders games.
right. And
And
I'm so tired.
that's echoed through a lot of New England Patriots fans where they're just like, Brady, like just Tommy boy, just go sit in the owner's box. Don't do this to yourself anymore.
Right. And I'm over it. I was never the biggest Tom Brady fan in the world anyway, and then for him to be on my TV constantly is just I yeah.
Honestly, when he
And
started talking, I totally forgot that even though it was the Saturday night game, I forgot it was a Fox broadcast because I was like, because I wasn't I didn't have the volume up that loud, but I was like, that doesn't sound like Tarico. And then I was like, why is Tom Brady talking on my TV? And then I finally saw the little Fox emblem on the top right corner. I was like, oh fuck, it's not a and not that I was like, God damn, why can't I at least get Tarico and what's his face, Jason, the Jason Garrett kind of thing. I was like, I would have rather had that. At least Jason Garrett would have gotten a chub for a backup quarterback getting in a game and having a good
you
performance.
would
Because
think Brady would too, because look at how his career started.
right, so. But we're not going to
Um,
give him any more spotlight because he doesn't deserve any more.
Fox has got the Super Bowl this year, don't they?
Yes, I
So
believe
then
so.
you know Brady is going to be the guy. I almost guarantee it. Brady is going to be your man in the box.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, well, not that I watch the Super Bowl unless the Packers are in it anyway, but
Right.
that's
Yeah.
one more
That's why
reason
I
I
couldn't
won't.
even tell. I can't even guarantee to tell you who's doing the broadcast because I can't do it was NBC last year and it was CBS the year before kind of thing. So I can't even do it that way. So yeah.
But I'm over it. He needs to be out of there because that right there is. And I know Bears fans are going to hear this. Oh well, that's just sour grapes. No, because I don't think he should have showed. If you want bias, then you go to the team's own commentary.
Yes.
If I want Packer bias, I'm going to go listen to Wayne and Rock do the commentary because I know they're going to celebrate when the Packers do something, but I know Wayne is still going to make the game exciting to listen to. So if I want it, that's where I'm going to go. But if I'm going to watch the TV broadcast with the TV commentators, I want an unbiased guy in the box. Now,
Yep.
like you said, with like Daryl Johnston, or even a little bit with Greg Olson, Tony Romo can in a little bit, and I'm not even the biggest Tony Romo fan. When it's their team that they played for, or
Yeah.
one of the teams that they played
Because
for, you know,
it's so hard to take that human element out. But yeah, I agree. When it's like, bro, like you have no ties to this team. What are you doing? Kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
But let's not give him any more attention than he already gets and stuff. What was your other one? You said you had two.
yeah, I just forgot it. I think I covered a lot of it with when we were talking about the penalties and that, and the scummy play of the Bears, and even Howie Long calling it out. But I do just want to throw, and I hate doing this because this involves a lot of listeners, but the people on Twitter, the keyboard warriors, knock it off. It doesn't make you look good. It makes you look like an idiot, especially when you're
It's
making accounts just to do this shit. There's one right now that is like really ticking me off, and I think he's a uh, content creator, that Michael Rodney.
sure.
He, yeah, I don't know. I just been see. I don't follow him, but uh, yeah, writing about the Packers since the '80s. But he's been just so friggin'. I don't know, but stuff like that just boggles my mind because you're letting this game dictate your life. And if that's the type of person you want to be, then I don't want to deal with you on that aspect. Do I
Yeah.
feel down about the game? Yeah, it was a bad game. It should have never went that way. But I'm not gonna be that type of person where I'm gonna sit there and, Romeo needs to go jump off a bridge and take
Yeah.
Rich Bisaccia with him, or all the death threats Mason got years ago, and Brandon Bostic, and those guys. They're people. People make mistakes. Everybody thinks that, oh, well, they make it the NFL, they should never have mistakes. Well, fuck, everybody has mistakes.
If they never
And
had mistakes, the only two teams in the Super Bowl for like a decade kind of thing. So like that's yeah. Players were
but I
never
just
busted stuff, but yeah, no, I agree with you. Like the Packers fan base, for all the times that they try to stand on their tall box and say like we're better than the other, I do hate that grandstanding where it's like we are pure fans and we do it the right way, and there's so many bad fan bases out there and they don't handle success well. I'm like, no one's better than anyone else. We all
they're
have
not,
our
but
bad
I have
moments,
to give
and
it to the majority of Packer fans, though.
yeah,
They're welcoming, they're gracious people, one way or the other. It's just that subsection that that think that by them being an asshole on social media makes them special, or then they wonder why players don't want to interact with fans, and then they wonder
yeah,
why the players quit social medias, and or they go private on social media so nobody can get a hold of them, or like the Malik Willis today. Not that anybody I think was going after Malik, but he tweeted something, and I looked at it and I said, man, that, again, very humble, very, whatever. And you can't respond to it unless he follows you or allows you to respond to it.
right,
Why is that? Because too many friggin' idiots are out there that cause trouble for him, probably from Tennessee when he was
yep,
playing for Tennessee. So he just shut it down. Well, that sucks for everybody else that, hey, that was a down game, but you did the best that you could, and all that. So this is my thing for the small amount of people that listen to us or happen to hear this or whatever. Don't let these games affect you that way.
yeah.
Don't be that person to go out and, again, oh, Romeo needs to take a flying leap off a bridge and take Rich Bisaccia with him, or shit like that. Be better.
Just be
Be
human. Yeah. No,
Because
I
that's all
agree.
they are. They're human.
Yeah, and
People make mistakes.
I totally agree with you. And it's like you said, it's not everyone. A lot of, there's definitely, as there's a lot more people who are like, don't Brandon Bostic die. And I say it all the time. Packers fans are horrible to Bostic. And
Most of them. I couldn't be
yeah,
to Bostic. It was a bad thing, but I personally had
oh, I
gotten to
felt
know
terrible for
Bostic for a little bit.
and I
Um,
tell everyone, I say, look at how he still glowingly talks about that those 2 years he played in Green Bay, and how he's still like, I know his profile picture is of him with the Jets, but he still
I
is
think
like,
that's just because he never changed it after he signed
yeah,
with
I
the
think
Jets.
so. I think so. But like,
Just like
just
my profile picture is of me and Micah Hyde from Micah's rookie year in Green Bay.
but just look at how we joked about how like color commentators who we their team and stuff. He still wees the Packers, and he still is like going down to Texas to root on our boys. Going like
He still comes
like you,
back to Green Bay now and again. I
oh
think he
yeah,
did an
like you
alumni
said.
tour a couple years ago.
I'm so glad that he's gotten to the point in his life where he understands that it is unfortunately the loudest, but it is a small portion of the fan base, but they are loud and they just keep putting stupid shit out there and stuff. But then they're the same ones that are like, how come these players don't want to talk to fans, or how come they don't want to sign autographs, or how? And it's like, bro, like I know that some of them, like there's stuff about like Sterling being weird about it and all that kind of stuff, and all
Well,
some, but
I'm going to tell a story about Brandon Bostic. So I got to know Brandon just a little bit. We didn't become like bosom buddies, whatever, but it was that year prior to the NFC Championship game. I would go to training camp, I'd take pictures and all that, and then I would try to get those. I would go print them out and get them signed and whatever. Well, Brandon liked the pictures that I was taking, goes, hey, can you send them to me? So he literally, and I have the thing around here somewhere where he gave me his actual email address and said, here, can you send them to me? So I sent him pictures. Well, a buddy of mine, I'm not sure if he listens to the show or not, but Cameron might actually remember this because it was so fucking funny. But Brandon and I were talking, and we were doing he signed a couple pictures for me, and we were doing the exchange and all that stuff. And that was the year that Eddie Lacy was drafted, and it was his rookie year, and they had that Sports Illustrated of him that had just come out prior to training camp. Well, my buddy Cameron wanted to get it signed. Well, Eddie just kind of bypassed him, and Brandon looked at him and goes, hey, you want me to get that signed for you? And of course, well, you're not going to bypass that. So he grabbed the Sports Illustrated, ran into the building. Eddie signed it, and then he came back out and gave it back to my buddy Cameron. So that was just the type of person Brandon Bostic was. So when all that shit went down, was I happy about the play? No, but I knew what type of person Brandon Bostic was, so I couldn't.
right,
I couldn't be against him. Same with Romeo Dobbs. I know what kind of person Romeo is, that I can't be down on him because he made a mistake.
right, and like we won't. This is going to be our last point because we're going on an hour and a half. But yeah, like I said, with
And
Dobbs,
Mike's
you
got a
saw
vacation to go to.
as I sit in the corner of my in-laws' house, our Marisol's dog is down here. Brunson, he's just chilling. He's like, "Are you done yet?" But like, from Dobbs' point of view, like I said, Dobbs had a great game. If the onside kick never happens, or if he recovers it, we're like, he caught the touchdown, he had a couple nice passes from Jordan earlier in the game, and he recovered that onside kick, sealed the victory, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. Then on top of it, all the stuff he went through last year off the field, between whatever breakdown he had, that got him suspended for a game, and the multiple concussions he suffered. And it's like, like it's the stuff we keep talking about. These guys are human. Like, just at some point, let them be. And with the Bostic one, I agree with you. Like, I was with you where there was a part of me that was like at that point, by that point, the Packers had made so many mistakes that I jokingly said, like, oh, come on, dude, you had to let the white guy get the ball. Because there's that picture of Jordy, and Jordy, like I said, you can tell Jordy was coached up to go and get the ball because you can see it on the frame, like, because someone did this thing where it's a frame by frame of that play unfolding. And you can see Jordy's face where he's like, you can see in his eyes, he's like, I have this in the bag. I'm going to go and I'm going to elevate, get this thing. And then when he sees I'm assuming the back of Brandon's helmet come into the vision, you can see Jordy's jaw drop, and he's like, you can see the like, oh no on his face kind of thing. And at the same time, what was I just getting on Dobbs and the current special teams coaching staff? It's like, I could never be mad at Bostic. I get that his job is to block, but he was like, hey, I do, and some people are like he had a hero. I was like, I don't think that's what happened. I think in his mind, the ball is coming right to him, and he's like, I don't know where Jordy is. This kick is probably short, so I've got to make this play because if I just let the ball go and Jordy's not there, or worse, it kicks up into me, and then it makes it easy for Seattle to recover it. Like I said, it's on that razor's edge of if he converts it, we're lauding him. We're celebrating him like I celebrated Eric Wilson for saving Nixon's ass in the 2023 divisional game when he comes out of freaking nowhere to recover that fumbled kickoff. Like Wilson is in nowhere on God's creation on the video screen, and he dives from off screen to recover that fumble. And it's going to be the same kind of play where you're like, oh my God, thank you. No, thank goodness Bostic took the initiative and was like, I'm going to make this play because my team needs me to. Fate just decided, nope, you're going to become one of the all-time scapegoats for an all-time collapse. And like I said, to me, Jacobs fumbling in the third quarter on the goal line is a bigger problem for the game. Yes, the
Because
Dobbs
it's a
muff.
stack of dominoes. Had he
Yeah,
not fumbled, we probably wouldn't have been in the situation where we had to recover an
right.
onside
Like
kick.
I said, there's probably not even time on the clock at that point because there's a whole thing or of different outcomes that happen where, like I said, you run off another 2 minutes, you score something there, or you just run the 2 minutes off and you're stopped on the 2 yard line kind of thing or whatever and stuff. But yeah, like that, like you said, that's the pebble in the pond that caused Nami in a couple more quarters. But we won't keep beating the same horse.
Oh, I got
We'll
stories for days.
but we're in an hour and a half. We
Ask me
don't want
about
to.
CJ Wilson sometime.
CJ Wilson, okay, one quick one on CJ from my point of view. CJ Wilson was the ultimate victory cigar because there was a point in his career, and I think through like 3 of his years on the Packers, where if he got a sack in a game, we won that game. Like, go look it up. I shit you not. There was a point through at least 2011 and I think into 2012, and because he only had like 4 sacks, but every one of those games he got a sack, the Packers won. He was like, it was the funniest, stupidest stat where the Packers were undefeated in games CJ Wilson recorded a sack. That's my last one. Like I said, we're pushing an hour and a half. The 36 of you who listen to us, we don't watch you going, what the fuck are the two of them doing? But just want to, all of this, and at the moment we're finishing recording, the Steelers have it fourth and goal, up 12-10 on the Lions. Even if the Lions win, the Packers are they're still ahead of the Lions by half a game because of the tie. The Packers are 9-5-1. The Lions will be 9-6 if they win. So the Packers are still the 7th seed. And as stupid as it looks for the Packers now, you win your last 2 games, you're in the playoffs. And yeah, you're probably going to Chicago, but Chicago's got 2 shitty games left on their schedule, and Detroit is probably going to be playing for their playoff lives going into week. Even if not, they're Campbell's not going to just roll over and die in week 18 and let the Bears have whatever. So
And really, the last 2 games for the Packers, the only one that worries me right now is the Ravens game. One, is Jordan going to be able to come back? And 2, who knows what kind of Ravens team is going to show up? So, because right now it's looking like McCarthy's going to be out for the final week of the season because I think they said that he fractured a bone in his throwing hand. So they're probably going to throw out that Brosmer kid.
yep.
And
so no one, Packers fans should be absolutely rooting for the Patriots tonight to beat the Ravens. So that pushes them to 7-8. And I think if the Steelers win, they might. I don't know if the Ravens will be. No, they won't be quite eliminated. So no, unfortunately, no. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But let's just get on out of here. Please check out the website, support us there, ohanapackers.org. Check out the shop. Please support us with the merch there. Check us out on social medias at Ohana_Packers on Twitter, at Ohana Packers Edition on Instagram. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting apps. And, I've seen Joe reach out to Terrence Parsons Jr. today. But if any of you are like hoping to write in, get thoughts, comments, whatever, write into us. We love to address it. We love to, back and forth with fans that way. But yeah, the last 2 weeks have been punches in each nut, but the Packers are sure as hopeless as it may seem at the moment. But I keep saying it again, the reason that I haven't just totally thrown my hands up and completely given up on this team is the Rams just lost in a stupid way to a Seahawks team that has kind of been scuffling on offense. Nobody, yeah, on Thursday Night Football, no one in this league wants to cement themselves as the team to beat. And the Broncos are getting smoked at home right now. Through the fourth quarter, they're getting waxed by the Jaguars. So nothing is set in stone. All these teams have flaws, and we just need Jordan to get healthy, and I hope he can play this week. Who knows though? Concussions are fickle. That one was a nasty one that he took.
Somebody put it on social, and Michael ended after this, but the prophecy is in place, because remember 2010. Late in the season, Rodgers got concussed, went out of the game. Flynn almost won that game against Pittsburgh. Then Rodgers made his way. Yeah. And, then it was, I think Rodgers was out the next game because didn't Flynn play 2 games that season? But anyway, quarterback goes down, backup comes back in, and so, yeah, we are in that prophecy. We are, so far, everything's clicking.
The big thing there is I just want to see them play good. That's the thing is, they were playing good football those last 2 weeks going into the postseason. And you can't just sad trombone for, even if you win both the games, you can't just reverse the beaten up Batmobile into the garage here. You have to go in with the boosters on. But I'm gonna save us before Joe sneezes right now. Happy holidays. We hope that you all have a Merry Christmas. Like Joe has said repeatedly through this episode, don't let a football game affect your holiday season. There's still so much to be grateful for, so much to be happy for. Enjoy your time. Go Pack Go, and aloha. Hit the red button.
Packers fans out here to stay. Cheeseheads green and gold all day. Jordan Love lead us to the bay. Every game we find a way. Green Bay hustle, grind it up. Hit the field, we don't bluff. Touchdown dances, feel the love. Jordan's got that MVP stuff. It's time for let's go. Packers bringing that show. It's time for green and gold gonna glow. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown. Lambeau Field, our sacred ground. Feel the vibe, hear the sound. Packers fans so loud and proud. Jordan Love, he's wearing the crown.